Rick's 1979 Dodge Macho Power Wagon wasn't just another truck from a forgotten TV show. It was a loud, rebellious symbol of late 70s American grit star that roared across screens every week on Simon & Simon. That bright red paint, those muscular stripes, and the deep growl under its hood gave it more personality than half the cast. But what most fans never knew was how close that legend came to dying behind the scenes. The production team nearly destroyed every single Macho Power Wagon used for the series. They broke them, rebuilt them, repainted them sometimes within the same episode. And Dodge itself, the company behind it all, had already killed off the Macho line before the show even started filming. So why did Simon & Simon choose a discontinued gas-guzzling monster for its hero vehicle? Why did this one truck survive when every other iconic TV car got scrapped or lost to time? And what secret detail made Rick's beloved truck technically illegal to drive in California? This is the wild, unbelievable story of a machine that defied destruction, a truck that refused to die, even when Hollywood tried to bury it. These are 20 weird facts about Rick's 1979 Dodge Macho Power Wagon, a television legend with more scars, secrets, and superstition than any muscle car ever built for TV. 20. The Wrong City Deception. It all begins with a lie and a bit of Hollywood genius. Every week, viewers saw Rick Simon's red Macho Power Wagon tearing through what looked like San Diego's palm-lined streets. But not a single frame was actually filmed there. The entire show was shot around Universal City in Los Angeles, with crews painstakingly transforming its backlots to mimic San Diego. They painted curbs the right colors, swapped street signs, even trucked in fake palm trees to complete the illusion. One night chase scene was actually shot in Burbank at 3 a.m., and they even had to digitally erase the Hollywood sign's reflection from the truck's side mirror. For all its screen time, Rick's Power Wagon never once touched the streets it was famous for driving through. 19. The Factory Freak Show. The Macho Power Wagon wasn't a prop truck built for television. It was Dodge's own outrageous creation, born from Chrysler's notorious adult toys division. Yes, that was the real internal name this package turned work trucks into Hot Wheels fantasies. The same division built the Lil Red Express, and the Warlock and the Macho was their boldest experiment yet. Massive decals, blackout trim, color-keyed interiors, it screamed late 70s swagger. At nearly $2,000 above base price, it was a luxury most couldn't justify, especially during a fuel crisis. Fewer than 2,000 were sold before Dodge scrapped the program, entirely blaming the Macho branding for alienating women buyers, though the real culprit was 8 miles per gallon. 18. The Impossible Badge. Mystery even diehard fans can't agree on which badges truly belonged on Rick's truck. Was it branded Power Wagon Ram or something else? Because in true TV chaos, the emblems changed between scenes. The props department had a box of random Dodge badges slapping on whatever fit after each stunt damaged the last. In one episode, it said Power Wagon on the tailgate. 3 scenes later, it read Dodge Ram. The continuity supervisor tried to keep track using Polaroids until someone spilled coffee on the whole board. By the end, even the stunt trucks had mismatched emblems, one carrying a 440 Magnum badge, despite having a smaller 360 engine. 17. The Suicide Suspension. This is where things turned deadly. For better camera angles, the stunt coordinator raised the truck's suspension by 3 inches. It looked meaner, but it wrecked the geometry completely. Every jump over 2 feet sent bone-rattling metal-on-metal shocks through the frame. Stunt drivers started refusing to get behind the wheel after noticing cracks forming in the chassis. Production didn't listen. They handed the truck to a rookie, and during one jump, the frame literally split in half on landing. The shot looked spectacular, so they left it in the final cut. The driver spent 6 weeks in traction. 16. The Hidden Automatic Scandal. Rick Simon looked every bit the tough guy shifting gears on screen, but that stick wasn't connected to anything. Gerald McRaney couldn't drive manual. He failed 3 tests during pre-production. So the hero truck was quietly swapped for an automatic Macho Power Wagon, and the prop team installed a fake shifter for the camera. Every gear change you hear, added later in post-production. By season 4, McRaney finally learned stick, but the illusion had already become part of the show's DNA. Another layer of Hollywood magic under the hood of a legend built on half-truths. By the time these first 5 facts came to light, Rick's Macho Power Wagon had already transcended reality, a machine stitched together from movie tricks, mechanical failures, and the kind of chaos only 1980s television could produce. 15. The Burbank Backlot Ghost. After Simon & Simon ended in 1989, most of the show's vehicles were either scrapped or auctioned off. But one Power Wagon refused to die. It kept showing up in parking lots in background shots of other Universal productions, even parked near sound stages that weren't in use. Nobody knew who owned it, yet it always had fresh fuel and current registration stickers. Security footage from 1994 even caught it rolling across the backlot at 3 a.m., with no visible driver. The truck finally disappeared in 2001, only for a Reddit user to claim spotting it years later. In a Riverside storage yard, stripes faded, but unmistakable. 14. The illegal California Crusher. Rick's aggressive push bar wasn't just a statement piece, it was a crime in progress. Since 1973, California law had banned frame-mounted push bars after a string of fatal pedestrian accidents. The production dodged the rule by calling it a movie prop. That worked until it didn't. During the first season, the California Highway Patrol stopped the truck 6 times. CBS lawyers kept bailing it out with special exemptions, but the illusion shattered when Gerald McRaney himself was caught driving it to lunch. The fine won $200, and a 3-day production shutdown. 13. The engine nobody talks about on screen. The Macho Power Wagon sounded like a monster, a roaring 440 big block. But in reality, it ran a humble 318 V8 Dodge's smallest available option. The producers wanted the bigger engine, but the mounts didn't fit. So they faked it. A dummy blower scoop was bolted onto the hood, and the sound team dubbed in muscle car noises to make it seem faster. The truth was so embarrassing, they filmed uphill scenes on slight downhill slopes to make the truck look powerful. 12. The two-tone paint disaster. The Macho's red over black color scheme became instantly iconic and impossibly inconsistent. Dodge discontinued that specific shade of bright red after 1980. So when the paint needed retouching, the crew had to mix it by eye. By season 3, there were 17 distinct shades of red across all the trucks. The black lower panels were no better, some matte, some satin, some glossy. In one episode, the finish literally changes mid-scene. Eventually, the paint team gave up and repainted the entire truck every 6 episodes, just to hide the mismatched tones. 11. The mysterious missing winch. Pre-production photos clearly show Rick's Power Wagon with a massive, worn 8274 winch mounted to the front bumper. It appeared in exactly 1 episode, then vanished forever. The reason a stunt gone wrong. During the first week of filming, a steel cable snapped missing McRaney's face by inches and shattering the windshield. Insurance companies threatened to cancel coverage unless the winch was removed immediately. It was taken off and quietly installed on a crew member's personal Jeep, where it remains to this day, still marked with a property tag reading Simon & Simon. Do not remove. From mismatched paint to fake engines and banned parts, Rick's Macho Power Wagon became a patchwork miracle part, prop parts survivor, and entirely chaos on 4 wheels. 10. The stunt double Frankenstein. By the second season, the original Macho Power Wagons had taken so much punishment that the production team had to build a replacement, and what they created was part monster, part miracle. The stunt double Power Wagon was actually 3 different trucks welded together, a 1977 frame, a 1979 Macho body scavenged from a junkyard, and a 1981 front clip that barely fit. The hood wouldn't stay closed, so they used painted bungee cords to hold it down. The doors came from 2 different model years and didn't seal right, filling the cabin with desert dust. The California DMV didn't even know what to call it, so they registered it as agricultural equipment. Against all odds, this Frankenstein truck outlasted every real macho on the show. 9. The $1 Million Mistake. During Season 4, Episode 12, the crew staged a stunt where Rick's Power Wagon smashes through a mansion's grand entrance. Except, they got the wrong mansion. Instead of 1274 Benedict Canyon, they hit 1247, the home of a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon. The truck destroyed mahogany doors, a $40,000 chandelier, and a Backlot painting worth $800,000. The studio's insurance refused to pay, arguing the damage was intentional. After 3 years of legal hell, CBS paid $1.2 million in damages and legal fees. To salvage the disaster, they still used the footage, digitally changing the house number in post. 8. The Secret Diesel Experiment. For 3 episodes in Season 2, Rick's Power Wagon mysteriously ran on diesel. The transportation coordinator swapped in a Cummins 5.9-liter diesel engine from a military truck to save fuel costs. No one told the actors. The result was chaos, the cab filled with smoke every time McCraney hit the gas, and the sound department had to redub every line because of the engine noise. When someone accidentally filled the diesel tank with gasoline, it caused $8,000 in damage. The coordinator was fired, rehired, then fired again for another mechanical blunder. 7. The Insurance Nightmare Chronicles. By the 3rd season, the Power Wagons were cursed and uninsurable. After 42 documented accidents and 16 total losses, no company in California would touch them. Lloyd's of London finally agreed to insure the trucks for $2,000 per day, but with strict conditions: never exceed 35 match and never let actors drive. That didn't exactly work for an action show, so the producers took filming to Mexico, where rules were more flexible. Police shut down production twice for bribery, but the fines were cheaper than California premiums. Eventually, the writers began scripting episodes where Rick's truck was broken or stolen just to avoid driving it. 6. The Collector Car. Apocalypse. Rick's Power Wagon holds a dark record. It's responsible for destroying some of the rarest cars in America. The show's limited budget meant it was cheaper to crash real classic cars than build replicas. Among the victims, a 1970 Plymouth Barracuda AR, a genuine Shelby Cobra 289, and most painfully, a 1969 Dodge Daytona Charger, one of only 53 ever made. They bought it for $8,000, used it in a chase scene, and sent it flying into San Diego Bay. That same car, if it had survived, would be worth over $3 million today. Yet the Power Wagon kept going unstoppable, though it needed 4 new frames by the end of filming. By this point, the truck was no longer just a prop. It was an indestructible Hollywood ghost, rebuilt, repainted, and reborn so many times that not even the crew knew which parts were original anymore. 5. The Forbidden Engine Swap. By the final season, the Macho Power Wagon had been through more engines than most race teams, but the last swap was pure blasphemy. When the production blew yet another 360 motor during a burnout stunt, the crew couldn't find a Chrysler replacement in time, so they did the unthinkable. They dropped in a Ford 460. It didn't fit. Custom mounts, a shortened drive shaft, and a mangled exhaust. Later, the truck ran barely. The engine sat 3 inches off center and roasted fuel lines that ran too close to the headers, catching fire 3 times. When Dodge executives spotted Ford valve covers in a close-up, they threatened to sue for brand defamation. CBS countered that Dodge had refused to provide parts. The compromise, the editors digitally painted out every Ford logo, a fix that cost more than 10 new engines combined. 4. The Deadly Desert Race. The single most expensive day in Simon & Simon history came when the crew tried to film an off-road chase in the Mojave Desert. Someone thought it would look better if they removed the truck's air filter. Within 20 minutes, the engine had inhaled so much sand that it seized solid at 70 mph. The wheels locked the truck, barrel rolled, and cameras captured every spin. The driver miraculously walked away, but the Power Wagon was a total loss. They helicoptered in a backup truck from Los Angeles, which blew its transmission 2 hours later. A third truck was trucked in by flatbed and finished the shot, only to throw a rod on the drive home. 3 trucks, 2 helicopters, and $400,000. Later, the final footage lasted just 43 seconds. 3. The celebrity Joyride incidents. Rick's Power Wagon became a Hollywood legend, and not always for the right reasons. Actors loved to borrow it between takes with disastrous results. Tom Selleck took it for a spin during the Magnum PI crossover and plowed it into a catering truck. John Travolta drove it to In-N-Out and wedged it in the drive-thru, destroying the menu board. And Dennis Hopper, drunk and defiant, stole it from the Universal lot-led police on a chase through Beverly Hills and crashed it into a stone swan sculpture at the Beverly Hills Hotel. The sculpture's head came clean off. The hotel still displays the headless swan, now labeled modern art. NBC banned non-cast members from driving the truck, only to later realize CBS owned the show. 2. The impossible restoration. In 2015, a devoted fan thought he'd found the original hero Power Wagon. He spent 2 years and $300,000 restoring it to perfection, spectrographically matching paint, recreating the interior, from archived surveillance photos, even sourcing an identical dodgeball that Rick kept in the bed. But when he checked the VIN, his heart broke. He'd actually rebuilt the Frankenstein stunt truck made from 3 wrecks. The real hero vehicle. It was seized in a 1991 DEA raid after being used to smuggle cocaine, then crushed with no record. Ironically, the fan's mistake turned into triumph. His restored stunt truck became a YouTube sensation worth more than the original ever was. By this stage, the Power Wagon had evolved from a battered TV prop into something much bigger, a piece of Hollywood mythology. Every dent, every repaint, every scandal became part of its story. 1. The studio's dark secret. Behind all the trivia, laughs, and near misses, the darkest chapter of Rick's Macho Power Wagon was one that the public was never meant to know. During the filming of the Season 5 finale, a catastrophic brake failure sent the truck careening off a Malibu mountain road. The stunt driver barely managed to jump clear. The truck didn't stop. It plunged 300 feet into a campsite that wasn't supposed to be occupied, but a family of 4 had been camping illegally within the restricted zone. The father was killed instantly. The mother and 2 children survived, but with life-changing injuries. Universal's legal team moved faster than emergency services. They argued that because the family was trespassing on closed property, the studio bore no liability. They were right legally, but morally, the story was unbearable. So in silence, Universal settled privately, paying $4 million in exchange for a lifetime non-disclosure agreement. No reports, no lawsuits, no press coverage. Officially, it never happened. The truck was repaired, repainted, and put back into use just weeks later, the same one seen in the final 3 episodes. If you pause certain shots, faint stains are visible on the push bar, the remnants of that night's tragedy hidden under layers of paint. The production assistant who failed to clear the campsite kept his job, eventually promoted to transportation coordinator. He retired years later in Malibu, less than 5 miles from the crash site, and according to locals, never drove a truck again. In the end, Rick's Power Wagon was more than a piece of TV history. It was a vessel of chaos, craftsmanship, and consequence. It carried fame and death in equal measure, roaring out of the past as a symbol of everything, both magnificent and reckless, about Hollywood's golden age of stunt filmmaking. Rick's 1979 Dodge Macho Power Wagon started life as a bold marketing gimmick, a toy for grown men with too much gas money. But television gave it something no factory could: immortality. It became a symbol of grit, loyalty, and chaos, roaring through explosions and stunt crashes week after week, never truly dying. Even after its final episode, it haunted Universal's backlot, whispering reminders of the dangerous, reckless era when Hollywood wasn't afraid to bleed for its stories. This truck wasn't beautiful because it was perfect. It was beautiful because it survived. Through melted paint, fake badges, and impossible jumps, Rick's Power Wagon became a legend not by design, but by accident. It carried the scars of every stunt, every mistake, and every secret that television tried to hide. And that's why decades later, we still talk about it. Because some machines don't just drive through history. They crash right through it, leave a mark, and dare us to remember